Liz from Simple Simon & Company, and I'm here today with some of my favorite friends from the 80s to show you how to make some totally righteous scrunchies. Scrunchies so bodacious they will make the Care Bears stare. I pity the fool that isn't making these scrunchies with us today. Let's get started. First of all, you're going to need to have a piece of elastic that is 1/4 inch wide and 8 inches long. Next, you're going to need a piece of fabric cut 24 inches long and 3 inches wide. Now, I prefer to use knit, but you can use any type of fabric you wish. Just make sure that you remember to cut it out. Now, you're going to take that fabric that you just cut and you are going to fold it in half with right sides together. After it is folded with right sides together going the long way, you are going to sew down the entire strip of that fabric using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Of course, you're going to sew along the raw edges and not the fold. When you're finished, you're going to need to take this tube that you just sewed and you are going to turn it so the right sides are out, and now the seams that you just sewed are on the inside. Because this tube is long and skinny, it may take a few minutes to get it turned. But just channel your inner punky power, the force, or the power of Grayskull, and you'll be done in no time. And when you're finished, it'll look totally tubular. Now, it's time to bring back that elastic, and you're going to add a safety pin onto one end. Use the end with the safety pin to push the elastic through the entire length of your tube. Now again, this may take a few minutes, but Goonies never say die, so just push on through. Be sure to keep the tail, this part right here, sticking out of the end of your tube, or when it's time to sew your elastic, you're going to be asking, where's the beef? Now, when you've got it pushed all the way through, your fabric is going to be scrunched up and it's going to look something like this. Now, what you're going to do is you are going to sew that elastic together. 2 pieces, you can either sew or hand stitch it together. Finally, you're going to sew up the hole that is left. Now, there's a few ways that you can do this. For instance, you could grab a needle of thread and you could hand stitch it. However, I feel the need for speed, so I do it this way. I fold one of my edges under a generous 1/4 inch. Then I tuck the other side into the folded end. I make sure that it's nice and tight, all the way around, all the way tucked in, nothing peeking. When I get it all tucked in, I will head back to my sewing machine and I will sew right over the top of the fold, right near the edge of the fold, right here. When I'm done, it will look something like this. Now, normally I would use some thread that would match my scrunchie, but for video's sake, I used white so that you could see it better. Now, there are some people that are going to say this is not the correct way to close up the scrunchie, but to them I say beat it and take a chill pill. Because when the girls here at my Cabbage Patch are wearing their scrunchies, no one can see the seam anyways. Now, before I go back to the future, I just want to add that if you have thicker hair, you may want to cut your elastic at 10 inches, and if you do, your fabric you'll cut to 30 inches long. Or, if you want to pump up the jam and make your scrunchie a little poofy, cut your fabric to be 4 inches or 5 inches wide rather than the 3 inches wide. There you have it. Now you know how to make a scrunchie, and knowing is half the battle. So all that's left to do now is to say, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes!